What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Curtain with Scott and Pete. And today we're talking about butt homes. That's right. I said it. Butt homes. What is a butt home? Well, a butt home is I really like the house, but, and we've got a couple different things we're going to talk about. But first, let me introduce Scott. Scott, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, dude? I'm excited to talk about butt homes. Not a topic I thought we would ever be going over, but I think it's very appropriate. So let's dive right into it. What's like our top butt example here?
Yeah, right. So we did kind of come up with this name on the fly. So full disclosure. But yeah, so I mean, when you talk about a butt home, right? See, all kidding aside, I really like this house, but it's in a flood zone. I really like this house, but it's on a double yellow line street and it's a really busy location. Or I really like this house, but it needs a lot of updating in TLC. So really what we're talking about today is how in the market we're seeing right now, you may have thought to yourself, a couple years ago, I want to sell this home, but I know it's going to be an issue. Well, we're here to tell you that homes of all shapes, sizes, and butts are selling in this market.
Yeah, and it's funny because I like in my head I'm visualizing, and if they're listening to this episode, they'll know that I'm talking about them as my clients years ago. I listed their house, and they had done the most gorgeous kitchen renovation in a little Cape Cod in Wayne, definitely like a prime starter home. But we were on Jackson Ave in Wayne, double yellow road, and we would get tons of showings. And it was like, oh my God, we love this house. But that main road is the holdup. And that was in a different market. And so that butt reared its ugly head. And we had a tough time getting it sold because people loved the inside of the home. But there was that drawback of we don't necessarily want to live on a busy road. And there's plenty of inventory out there for us to go find a home that might not meet our needs and might not wow us as much, but it's on a nice little cul-de-sac or it's in a nice neighborhood. And so that was this challenge. I can guarantee you that if we pop that house on the market today, gone instantly. Like, no doubt about it. People would be lined up begging to get in, right? Way over asking, because we know that basically everything on the market right now. It's amazing to see how this market though has caused that situation where if you have a butt home, something that's holding you back, get it done in this market because buyers are overlooking that hesitation and moving right forward on buying a house, even if it has some sort of glaring drawback to it. Yeah, so that's the busy road example. What else? Have you experienced anything like that? A particular example that jumps out at you?
Yeah, I mean, we see this a lot. I mean, I think one of the things that you touched on, which is a really good point, is that there were other options for buyers to go to, right? So it was like, hey, I want to be in this town. I really like this, but I have other stuff that I can go see, and maybe I'll spend a little more money to update something as opposed to buying this home in particular. I mean, some other things that we come across, right? So we talked about a busy road. We talked about flood zones. I mean, flood zones are always a challenge. And where we are in northern New Jersey, we do come across quite a bit of flood zones. And so, that home that was going to sell for 350 2 years ago or 3 years ago and just sat on the market and didn't sell. So the seller put off their plans of buying another home or relocating because they just couldn't get the money. Now you can capitalize on this market. And if you have a home, I would strongly consider or suggest considering putting that house on the market and going after your next phase in life, no matter what that is. And I think we'll hear, I'd love to, but right, this is a different but where am I going and where am I gonna, interest rates are so high. And it's like, I think you have to kind of look at each thing individually, right? There are ways to overcome a higher interest rate, right? We know that we can buy down rates. We know that we can do a couple of different things, adjustable rate mortgages, which we'll get into in another episode. All that stuff can be figured out. Where am I going next? But we don't know for sure where the market is going to go in the next 6 months to a year. I mean, hell, it's changed so much in the last month. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But we can with pretty good certainty tell you that it's not going to change by tomorrow. But when you have that home and you do want to move on from it, and you have run into challenges in the past, now is a really good time to get your house on the market and get yourself into a better situation. I think is really like what we're trying to convey in this video here today.
Yeah. So, you know, and what it also makes me think of is like the flood zone is a great example, right? Because I think in a normal, more balanced market, those are oftentimes like flood zone, double yellow road, or, you know, the other one is just like a home that hasn't been well maintained. And what you find in a normal market is like oftentimes those are the ones that might not necessarily even sell the first time on market. It might go a full 6 months. And it's that problem of like, you know, the seller might be looking around and saying, well, my home is very comparable to all these other homes that are on the market and they're selling, and we're priced, you know, pretty fairly compared to those other homes. And yet it's that but factor where, like in a normal market, again, the buyers have choices. So they keep overlooking your home. And that's when you see, like in a more normal market, we see also a lot more expired listings because buyers have choices. And so they overlook the house that has that glaring problem to it. Or not even, I don't want to call it a problem, but like a drawback, right? Whereas now it's funny that like I would never, like I still would guide a buyer to really think long and hard about buying a home in a flood zone, especially in an area that you know the home is going to be impacted when we get one of these, you know, torrential heavy, you know, rainstorms or, you know, hurricane level storms. But I think what's interesting is that now, like I have had conversations with buyers about a home that's maybe in a flood zone, super low risk. And it's like, all right, guys, like you're going to have to take out, you know, like a $1,200 flood policy. So you're factoring that into the equation. But if we've got a long history of this home not actually taking on water, might be worth the trade-off to pay the extra $100 a month, have your flood insurance policy in case things do change, but you're getting yourself a great home. And who cares about the little, you know, blemish of, especially if someone's talking about buying a home for the long term, like you don't need to sweat the fact of, you know, selling it right now. That's what the person that put it on the market is doing. They're saying, hey, take advantage of the hot market and get that, you know, house with a drawback like flood moved in this market. So I think it's all about, you know, and it's also something that I'll keep in mind in the future when I know that I've got someone who maybe like doesn't necessarily need to sell and it's a, you know, more balanced market. Well, maybe we want to wait for our opportunity to sell this home in a more ideal market to sell. So I think it's crazy. We've been in this market now for like 2 years, and it's teaching us a lot of lessons, both very obvious ones, and then even I think this was something that, again, like we talked about it, but it kind of came up, you know, more recently where we realized how, you know, what an opportunity it is to sell a drawback home in this market, a bum home.
Yeah, yeah, but home. And we're gonna have to do a little ticker on this video that says like how many times we say the word but throughout the whole episode. Um, but yeah, and I think the other thing, just you know, you're kind of mentioning before, like, you know, in a more balanced market, you are going to have to take that into consideration, a flood zone, a busy street, things like that, when you are pricing it. So yeah, your price in that market needs to be a little bit lower than some of the other comparable homes that don't have those concerns for buyers. The same is still true in this market, right? We're not painting that, trying by any means to paint that picture that, you know, you should not take that into consideration. I think really the message is yes, you do need to price it accordingly still, because we are still seeing overpriced homes in this market, but your options and your good chance of getting that home sold as opposed to it hanging around on the market for 6 months and then never selling, because you know price is only part of the equation. It has to work for a client on all these other levels as well. I was just showing a house today, beautiful, like 3 acres of property, and you know it's just nice porch and sitting out back, could envision it, and then busy road, just cars going by, and it just kills that ambiance. So it's like you got 3 acres, but it still doesn't feel like 3 acres because you're right off of the road. So those kinds of things are important too. And you know, when it comes to buyers too, we're certainly not suggesting that because that issue is going to be an issue for any seller in any market. So when you buy that home, you have to take that into consideration that, yes, that is going to most likely be an issue for you down the road, unless we do have another market like this. And but all those things kind of just come together. I think it's important to
Yeah,
keep
now
in mind.
now I think I'm like almost visualizing it as like a game of like hot potato. Like,
Yeah,
so I
right.
would think like if you're buying the house for the next 2 to 3 years, and it's a transitionary home for you, like don't buy the butt home now and then get stuck holding on to it at the end of the day when you're trying to go to sell it 2 to 3 years from now and you're not able to overcome that, glaring issue there at hand. So definitely still go out there, make wise decisions when you're buying a home. Just saying that if you are a seller who's, potential seller living in a home that might have one of those glaring drawbacks, there's plenty more out there that we didn't even cover, but I think it's just now is a time to seriously consider putting that house on the market because you're going to be surprised at how much people are overlooking and
Right.
willing to, just come to the table, and you're probably still going to have multiple offers and get the home sold in a weekend. So
Exactly.
now is the time. If you're sitting on that kind of home, give us a call. We'd be happy to get your butt home sold.
Get your butt home. I love it. I think we coined a great term here. So, all right, guys. Well, that does it for us. As always, drop a like, drop a comment. Any questions you have for us, you can direct message us. And if you'd like to know if your home is a butt home, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to go over everything that's involved with that. So, until next time, have a great, great day.